Good evening and welcome to the Summit tonight here on MidwestSports.net. I'm Joey McWilliams. I am joined by John Cooper from NAIAFBALL, and we are going to talk some NAIA football, playoff football action tonight. And I am glad that you are with me and joining us. It's a live stream. Thanks for being along. Feel free to comment if you would like to, and we'll try to watch those as closely as we can. John, you work with Corey, so you have a pretty good back and forth right there. Watched you all on your show last night, and I've been watching you all season. So I'm by myself here in this studio, so I just want to say if I'm able to get to the comments, yay. If not, we'll pick them up and we'll talk about that later. John, NAIA, the playoffs have finally arrived, at least to the point we know who is in. So talk about that for a moment. Are you satisfied with the 16 teams that are in?
I am absolutely satisfied. The first team that was left out was Southeastern, who went 8-1 down in Lakeland, Florida. I am feeling for those guys. You know, when you go 8-1, you expect to make a postseason berth. But I absolutely do think the NAIA got it right. Every conference represented. If you want to make the playoffs, take care of your own division, take care of your own conference first. It's basically a playoff within a playoff. Those guys definitely earned a right to be in the playoffs. But if you don't make criteria, you just have to blame yourselves. And there are a lot of intriguing matchups, Joey, that I'm absolutely looking forward to.
Okay. Well, you know, I agree with you, and I saw that as Southeastern being the first team out. Record-wise, definitely you have to say that the one loss all season for Southeastern came to Kaiser. Of course, Kaiser has had quite a season as well. I know you can talk about them a little bit later on. There was one other team that I think warrants mention. Now, you look at Benedictine, you look at Evangel, both 8-3, and really played their way out of the playoff picture. These are teams, Benedictine, making it so far, that run so far last year, had things in place, and then you have the 2,000-yard backs, and got injured through the season, not able to keep things going. Evangel, things just fell apart in the last two games, and that loss to Baker, that in essence was a playoff game, Evangel and Baker in the final week of the season, because the winner's going to get the Heart South, and Baker went and took care of business. But the team I wanted to mention was Langston. Langston with a record of 8-2, lost to OUAZ, and the Spirit really taking control in the Sooner Athletic Conference in year two of the program. But, John, the other loss was to Arkansas Pine Bluff. This is NCAA Division I Arkansas Pine Bluff, and it's I struggle with that one a little bit because it's tough to hold that one against them. You don't count that one, and you have another 8-1 team. Although, according to what you said, you have to take care of business in your conference and your division.
Absolutely, and let's hit Evangel just real quick, and then we'll go back to Langston. Evangel's got to feel like deja vu all over again. The thing that happened to them here in 2019, exactly the same thing in 2018 with them losing to Baker at the end of the season. You know, that loss to Central Methodist, everybody's scratching their head about that. But Coach Heppel and them have to be frustrated after what's happened the past 2 years. You dominate all the way to the end of the season, and just one game knocks you out. You just can't finish business in your division. So, I'm looking forward to seeing Evangel, how they come out next year, and see if they can correct things at the end of the year. Now, talking about Langston, Joey, you can correct me. They're three-peat champions technically, right? Because they have to share with Ottawa. Right. Yes, and, they're one of the few HBCUs in NAIA. Florida Memorial's joining them next year. And Langston actually has a pretty nice, rich tradition over there. The talent over there at Langston, especially their running back, the name escapes me right now.
Tim Whitfield.
Yes.
Tim Whitfield. All season long, I called him Whitfield in the backfield.
Yes, and, Tim absolutely dominated people for the most part. Even Ottawa, Arizona, he rushed for 130 yards. But he was averaging almost 200 yards a game in conference play, it seemed like, just popping off. And we talked about within the regular season, it basically is a playoff, and that's what makes the NAIA special. If you put Langston in the playoffs, could they make a run? Maybe. They made it to the quarterfinals last year. So, but it just is what it is. You just got to take care of what your conference and division. And maybe the Sooner Athletic Conference can invite some more teams and programs starting up to get two divisions, to get two automatic bids. Because you think of a conference like the Mid-South, they're automatically getting three teams in there, most likely, with their three divisions.
I'll tell you what. If I go to Commissioner Wagner and to ask him to invite a few more teams in, he may not invite me back very much. So, no, I agree with you. I mean, they get those automatic bids with the divisions, but I just, my heart goes out to Langston for that. Again, 3-time champions. This was the only loss that they've had in conference play in 3 or 4 years, and it just came at a rough time. But again, props to OUAZ for taking care of business when they needed to. And I guess Langston's just been on the outside looking in so many times. A couple of years, you have to be in that top 20 in rankings to be an at-large team.
Right.
And there were, John, it seemed like back-to-back years, about 4 or 5, 6 years ago, where they were number 21. And
right.
I mean, to be that close and on the outside looking in, it was tough. But, that's a team that's kind of close to my heart, so I bring that one out there. Let me pull over then the graphic here, and let me see, bring that up there. Let's talk a little bit about the bracket as a whole, and the folks who are watching right now can see this bracket, and this is what it looks like, at least first round wise. John, anything there that let's just, I guess we could start with Morningside. They have to be the top seed, defending champions, right. 25 consecutive wins.
Yeah, so they're leading NAIA in consecutive wins, defending champions, as you said. They lost basically the firepower of Solsa and Niles last year, but they have replaced it with quarterback Joe Dolanchek, who's been absolutely on fire, 67% completion rating. He's thrown for 32 touchdowns, and it makes a quarterback's best friend when you have a running back like Arnaje Ponder, who's basically accomplished everything in NAIA so far. He's led them on the ground with 19 touchdowns, and they don't even have to utilize him full-time. He doesn't play a lot late in games, Joey. You know that. Morningside absolutely has romped people besides that Northwestern game last week. So, if that was my first round game, I would want to avoid Morningside at all costs, and they get Dickinson State.
I'm sure Dickinson State was going, man.
Yeah, which Dickinson State, they won the past 4 or 5 in the North Star over there. But I will say, just like the Sooner Athletic Conference, Joey, that's close to you, the North Star is the same way, where they're fighting for that respect. Would they ever get on 2 bids? And, Dickinson State had that huge win against Northwestern last year in the playoffs, Joey. And Northwestern went head-to-head with Morningside the past 2 years. Could Dickinson State surprise people? No one's given the Blue Hawks a chance. I'm not giving the Blue Hawks a chance. I think it's going to be an absolute Mustang romp over them. But, it wouldn't surprise me to see Dickinson State rally the troops and get them going. They have talent over there.
They do. It does, and it begins with Hayden Gibson, as Gibson's throwing for nearly 260 yards a game, 27 touchdowns, and I think that the Blue Hawks get on the board. But a Morningside team that is averaging more than 56 points a game, tops in the NAIA, giving up only 11.4 points per game, number 3 in the NAIA. A margin of victory of more than 45 points per game. I agree. I don't know that Dickinson State can slow that down, but I do think they get on the board. I don't think it's a shutout there. I want to stick with Midwest teams then within my regional footprint here and talk about a few of those matchups first, and then hit a couple more that I know maybe even closer to your home. Of course, I'm coming to you tonight from Oklahoma. John is coming to you tonight from Florida, and we appreciate you watching the summit here on the MidwestSports.net YouTube channel. Another one that comes to mind is another undefeated team, and that is Grandview. The Vikings coming in 11 consecutive wins, taking on Concordia from Michigan, and that seems to be a pretty good matchup, at least on paper. But I think Grandview, they just, for a team that hasn't lost, seems to be a little bit under the radar, John.
Joey, I'm on record saying that Grandview, if they're not matched up with Morningside before the championship game, they will make the championship game, where it has a chance to be an all-Iowa final there. But Joe Woodley, who took over for his dad, He was an Iowa State football captain in the late 90s, preaches physical defense, and they have absolutely shown it. They're number one in the NAIA in total defense. If you're looking for a front seven to learn from right now, it's the Vikings. And they're led by Austin Koichi over there, who's had 70 tackles, 24 for tackles for loss, and 11 and a half sacks. Their front seven is absolutely stifling. And, they have beaten the drum out of some other playoff teams, especially their heart teams, like Baker and them. So, if you're Concordia and you're watching the film, that front seven, you got to keep feeding Omar Sinclair the ball. Even though it's a ferocious front seven, you're going to have to keep them honest and just hoping your quarterback, Peter Morrison, is efficient and hits the right spots.
Yeah, you talk about that defense there for Grandview, and of course led by Koichi. Contest a couple of weeks ago, he had 15 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and a forced fumble. 15 tackles in one game alone, not to mention the rest of that particular lineup on the stat line. Fills a stat chart, fills a stat line very well. That defense is taking care of business, and you have to look. I think Grandview gets the win in this one against a tough Concordia team that's made a little bit of noise. Concordia's losses to St. Francis and to Marion, teams that, hey, are just right there as well.
And I will say Concordia is battle-tested. They're from the toughest division in all the NAIA. They're over there at Ann Arbor, Michigan. People don't even know they're neighbors with the Wolverines over there. They're not talked about much over there, and even in Ann Arbor. But Coach Schumacher's done a great job over there. But I got Coach Woodley coming out on top.
All right, we move on along, and let's put that graphic back up there and talk about another team in the MidwestSports.net footprint, Northwestern. You mentioned the Red Raiders just a few moments ago. Red Raiders 9-1, taking on St. Xavier from Illinois, and Northwestern's lone loss on the season coming at the hands of, that Morningside team.
I will say Northwestern and Morningside were pretty much the vanilla topics all year in NAIA because you knew you were just waiting for that last week of the season. You knew they would clear the first 9 games out, and Northwestern, just like last year, had a chance to beat Morningside. But you get a first-round matchup that's absolutely intriguing. You got St. Xavier, the Chicago NAIA team, coming over to Iowa. I wouldn't take them lightly, Joey. St. Xavier defeated Marion last year after getting blown out by Marion in the regular season. They're led by quarterback Alex Martinez, which is the best quarterback in the Mid-States Football Association Midwest Division. So, I'm pretty excited about that. I know you have a lot to talk about for Northwestern, so tell me about them.
Well, I think, again, you have to talk about Tyson Kuima first because he's putting up 315 yards of total offense per game, second in the NAIA, 279 yards passing per game, and he's able to find receivers left and right. He definitely leads this offense, but it's a defense that over the course of the year, it's one of the top 5 defenses in the NAIA. 6 times has given up only single digits in points. And I agree. This was what most folks were waiting for in the GPAC all year long, and anybody else that's following NAIA was to wait for this Morningside Northwestern game. At the start of the season, folks were saying, well, I'm not sure we should pick Morningside again to be number 1. I'm of the belief that you're number 1 till you're not. And Morningside hasn't shown anything to say that they're not right now. And Northwestern, again, had the chance. This is a tough matchup. And just like what you said about Grandview, I say the same thing about Northwestern. If Northwestern and Morningside are separated, there's a very real chance they could meet one more time. Although you have to think, if you're the Red Raiders, man, we had our chance there in Orange City. Now we've got to travel somewhere else. But, take care of business one game at a time. I am picking the Red Raiders in this first-round matchup.
I am too, Joey, and you lost of the national championship, maybe.
All right. One more from the Midwest, and I was saving this one because, I think this is a big matchup from the state of Kansas, and it is 2 teams that are not in the same conference. I think there's a lot on the line, not only individually, not only playoff-wise. I think some conferences would like to be represented well in this one. And it is Kansas Wesleyan coming in undefeated, taking on the Baker Wildcats, coming in 8-2, 2 losses on the season, got the big win over Evangel, in essence, to secure the playoff spot and secure that Heart of America South Division championship. So, John, we've seen on social media this year through the NAIAFBALL poll that Kansas Wesleyan has some detractors.
Yes, absolutely. And it does, when Kansas Wesleyan had that game against Avila, where, they had a really good chance at losing that game if the ball bounced, the right way. And they just ran through the KCAC for the most part, but there was no one in their way. You know what I'm saying? If your toughest game was Avila, who is a 500 team, you're going to get that disrespect. But, Kansas Wesleyan, we both know all the players' names. We know they have the star power. You got Johnny Photo over there that's had a great pass this season, last year. DeMarco Pruitt pounds the ball. You got Shaq Bradford, who has more sacks than most NAIA teams. But we both, and I would say everybody, crossed their fingers and said, please let this matchup happen. They're in the same state, but different conferences. If you're Kansas Wesleyan, and what we've been putting up on NAIAFBALL is no disrespect to the Coyotes, but if you want to earn respect, it's this game right here, right now.
Yeah, I've been following this one pretty closely. Oh, by the way, John, Avila did finish 7-3. I picked them at the start of the year to be third in the KCAC, and that is exactly where they wound up. Coach Benavidez is doing a good job with that program. I really wouldn't be surprised if they took a couple more steps up. But saying that about just clearing that up really quickly, the Coyotes, you talk about Pruitt, you talk about Shaq Bradford, you talk about Photo. You even talk about Stevie Williams, who is leading the NAIA in receiving yards per game, and he may not even be the best receiver on the team, John. So,
right.
With Trenton Poe Evans there, this is an offense that is so powerful, a defense that is so powerful, and it's going up against a tough Baker team in J.D. Woods, who's able to get the ball down the field. He has 128 rushing yards per game, second in the NAIA in that category, 15 touchdowns this year. Marco Aguinaga is really, I think, started to light it up over the course as the season has gone on from that quarterback spot, 2,400 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, more of them coming later on. I think the Wildcats really, they definitely have earned the spot in the playoffs, but this is bigger, I believe, for the Coyotes, and I agree with you.
This doesn't feel like a first-round game to me, Joey. This feels like just a bitter, I know they're not rivals, but this might as well be a rivalry game. You're in state, you're trying to earn that respect. And, Baker players are confident right now on social media saying that it's an easy 2+ possession win. Mm-hmm. But I also want to bring up Sam Scorlow and some of the guys in the defensive secondary for Baker. Kansas Wesleyan loves to expose the perimeter of teams on defense and just get the hands of their athletes. And, I think the secondary for Baker is going to mix it up very well and just cause problems for Photo in them because, there are some games where Photo just, loosely handles the ball and throws those interceptions. So we'll see. And, like I said, no disrespect to Kansas Wesleyan, but there were some games where those stats are just inflated against a team like the St. Mary Spires, if, 0-10 and beating 90-0. But, taking nothing away from Kansas Wesleyan, they just beat the teams that were in front of them, and they beat them like a drum. So they do deserve that respect. But as far as all the undefeated teams, if you're Kansas Wesleyan, you want to win this game bad.
Well, then, having a presence in Kansas with KansasSports.net and keeping some degree of neutrality then because, it doesn't matter. Somebody's going to be mad.
Right.
Anyway around, somebody's going to be mad. But I want to hear your pick before I give mine.
I think the Baker Wildcats are going to win this game. I think they're going to hold Kansas Wesleyan to a season-low points. The number 2 total offense won't look like the number 2 offense this game. I really think that Baker Wildcat defense is going to come to play.
Okay. And I figured you were going to do that, so I'm going to split with you. I'm not. I know that Corey, you guys were just so together last night on all your picks,
which is rare.
That may be rare, but it was happening last night. I'm splitting with you. I'm taking the Coyotes in this one. I don't think it's going to be any kind of blowout win. And you make a valid point. With Johnny Photo with 43 touchdowns, which is 12 more than anybody else in the NAIA. That includes Dolinchek, Gibson, all those people we talked about before.
Right.
Photo with 43 touchdowns. He still has 11 picks. And so that's a high number as well. But I'm going to go with the Coyotes on this one. So with that in mind then, and let's look at this graphic once again, that takes up 4 of the games. So we're getting out of my comfort zone a little bit more, and we'll go over those other 4 matchups a little more quickly here and talk about a few more. Well, maybe not too quickly. We got time.
Yeah.
We got time. We're talking football. Come on.
Anyway,
all right. Let's go ahead then. Top of the right side of the graphic there, and this one could be as big a matchup as anyone on the board. College of Idaho, undefeated, a strong team that just really has shown itself to be strong, and the Ottawa, Arizona Spirit, 9-1 on the year. The lone loss coming to Lyon, and I've heard it was a bad night. Well, you know what? Sometimes you do have bad nights. Now, I will say that the Scots came to play. But that one slip-up, we could be looking very easily at 2 undefeated teams playing out west.
Right. So I think the Scots definitely laid out the blueprint to beat Ottawa. They had unique ways of giving a pass rush on Austin McCullough, who is the Sooner Athletic Conference Player of the Year. And I think you're going to see unique pressure from College of Idaho. But not only that, can Ottawa, Arizona, which has the ability to, but can they keep pace with the Coyotes offense over there at College of Idaho? You got the Peterson kid at quarterback. Everybody talks about him being a dual threat guy, but he has an absolute rocket as an arm. And when you get him on, sprint throws, getting out of the pocket, rolling out, he is so dangerous, Joey. That's why I'm picking College of Idaho to win that game. I do think Ottawa, Arizona will be a future face of NAIA football coming soon. They are growing exponentially, especially the school. They have beautiful facilities coming up. But I have College of Idaho winning this game. I
think that is a solid pick. I'm not going to take it, but I think that's a very solid pick, John. I really do. I think that that loss may have been just enough for the Spirit to be able to go, okay, that is exactly right. There's the blueprint. Now we have to rewrite the book just a bit. McCullough was the preseason favorite to be the Player of the Year, and he's done nothing to dissuade anyone's opinion in the Sooner Athletic Conference to have that honor. So I will go ahead and take the Spirit in that matchup. We move down on the right side of the graphic, as you can see it right there. Lindsey Wilson takes care of business and finishes out the regular season undefeated, taking on St. Francis from Indiana.
Joey, I'm a big Coach Oliver fan. He has been with the Lindsey Wilson Blue Raiders since the beginning of that program 10 years ago, but I'm an even bigger Coach Donnelly fan. He's a Hall of Famer. He's in the top 10 all-time of wins, all of college football. But I'll say this. St. Francis has had their time with Mid-South teams all the way dating back to 2013. They knocked Faulkner off. Then they beat Reinhardt in the playoffs and then beat them in the national championship. St. Francis is familiar with defeating Mid-South teams, especially the kids that are there now. But I have Lindsey Wilson making a statement in this game, Joey. I have Cameron Dukes. When Coach Oliver has problems and he is put into a corner, he starts running his quarterback because it gets that extra blocker out there.
Right.
I have Lindsey Wilson making a statement game. The combination of Cameron Dukes' vertical passing, Jalen Boyd running the ball. I don't think Crable over there at St. Francis is going to be efficient. He has really struggled this year. He's been a 56% passer. So I think Lindsey Wilson is going to make a statement game here.
Well, Duke's among the top in passing on the year, 293 yards per contest, 6th in the NAIA in that category. He can pass it, he can run it. I have Lindsey Wilson as well. I did pick Lindsey Wilson to win the division. And so I'm on record as doing that back at the early part of in the preseason. So I'm going to stay with them and say they win their first round matchup. Kaiser remains undefeated at 9-0, taking on Cumberland's, and Cumberland's just at the very end of the season. Well, that was a tough game.
Right. And what's interesting, Joey, is Cumberland's and Kaiser kick off the season next year. But, the Patriots are going to be red hot after losing their division. And it feels like deja vu for the Patriots last year. They're coming in the playoffs as a one-loss team. And Kaiser, who has an impressive resume, like Ottawa, Arizona, they are going to be a future face of Mid-South football. I don't think they have enough to win it. If I'm Cumberland's, I'm making sure defensive back Sage Chin Young doesn't get his hands on the ball. He had a 100-yard kick six return against Ava Maria, but I have Cumberland's winning this game. I think Darius Young out at the Z receiver position has a huge, huge game.
Yeah, you were liking that kick six, weren't you? I think
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
stands out to you.
Yeah, Sage Chin Young's my favorite player in NAIA right now. If I was a fanboy, Joey, you know what I mean?
If you were, okay.
Yeah, if I was.
All right, I'm going to stay in Lindsey Wilson's division and go with Cumberland's. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that. Final one features the toughest defense in the nation in Marion taking on Reinhardt. I've heard you talk about Reinhardt all season long, but this is a really tough matchup then to take on Marion, and I'll let you describe it.
You know, Reinhardt is the most physical team in probably the whole playoffs. They have a huge offensive line. They have different backs that they go running back by commission over there. And they have a stifling defense. They're number 4 in all NAIA. And both these teams are kind of similar. You have Ethan Darter that takes care of the ball. He only has 2 interceptions all year. Then you got Billy Hall over there at Reinhardt that, you know, he takes care of the ball as well. He's not going to be a dangerous passer. He can run the crap out of the ball with 500-plus rushing yards. So this one's going to be a grinded-out game. I do have Marion winning late in the fourth quarter, but this is going to be a very physical game. Kind of like the Langston Lions you described. Reinhardt's first loss, or the second loss, was to Kennesaw State, a top FCS team. And then they had that loss to Kaiser. But Reinhardt's going to be a very physical game where whoever the winner is going to be hurting come next week. But I have Marion squeaking it out in a war, a very physical war. And, it just depends. Can the running back by commission and Reinhardt get it done, or can Charles Salary get fed the ball enough to win?
I have Marion on defense. I say the defense stands. I say the defense stays with what it's done all season long, and it doesn't change in this first-round playoff game that is upcoming. Well, we've gone through all 8 matchups, all 16 teams now that are in the 2019 Championship Series. We see that one more time. Morningside, the top seed, top overall, and taking on Dickinson State. We've gone through all of them. John, then, as we look at the graphic and go back to you now, your pick right now, who do you pick to win?
I'm going with the vanilla safe option. I'm going to get my safe space with beautiful doors and bulletproof windows. I'm picking the Morningside Mustangs to repeat as the second straight 2-time consecutive champions.
Okay, we don't have safe spaces at MidwestSports.net. I'll throw you under the bus there and back
space,
over it.
Joey.
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay,
I have Arna J. Ponder and Dolanchek going off, man. I'm in my safe space.
Okay. Well, I think that is a very safe pick, and I'm going to stay with that. I pick Morningside to run the table again. And, you think about this, my goodness. I mean, you have Solsma, you have Niles that had played together so long, played together in high school, by the way, too. I mean, this was
state champions.
This was a connection that went back a long, long ways. And when they're gone, it's just like, well, you know what? Coach Ryan says, I've got a Dolanchek, I've got a Jurgen Meyer, I'll see that, and we'll just keep it up. And by the way, Ponder has done his job, been very consistent. The defense doesn't get talked about enough, but you're giving up 11.4 points per game. The Morningside defense is doing its job as well. I think it is an easy pick, but I'm going to take it. So there is that.
Absolutely. There's the reason they won so many GPAC titles. The culture there is unmatched. But go ahead, Joey. What's the next one?
My final question then is sleeper pick. If you've got an opportunity to say, okay, Morningside doesn't work out, I'm going to put money on someone else, just a little bit of money on the side. We don't bet here at MidwestSports.net, but if we did,
right.
Who's your sleeper pick?
I've already picked them to lose in the first round, so it's going to sound weird picking them as a sleeper, but we just talked about culture. I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Donnelly and St. Francis just came out of nowhere and made a little bit of a run. It's just ingrained in their DNA right now. Just the players there, they are used to it. P.J. Dean and them at the running back position. Those kids are just used to winning. And Coach Donnelly has his guys ready at this time last year. We thought they were left for dead when they lost to Concordia and Marion, and they made it all the way to the semis last year. So, I'm going to go with Coach Donnelly and them, even though I picked them to lose. I know it's a little ironic and oxymoron of me, but go ahead, Joey. What's your sleeper?
Okay, well, that's my sleeper, and this is contingent on everyone staying healthy, okay? But my sleeper is Kansas Wesleyan. I think that there is enough there that the defense does its job. I mean, we talk about Shaq Bradford all day long. He has 10 other players on the field with him. He makes them better, but he has 10 players on the field with him. I think there are enough offensive weapons that, you look back, there's a reason Benedictine is not making a playoff run this year because they didn't stay healthy. Not their fault. It just happens.
Right.
Those are things that happen.
It's football.
It is football. I think if the Coyotes stay healthy, that's my sleeper pick.
I think that's a solid one, and they would do. Nobody would be surprised if Kansas Wesleyan.
There are some people on social media, John,
right here. Yes,
just throw up on the computer.
That's right. I would be surprised if they make it out of the first round, but but. And I'm getting hate. You should see the DMs, Joey.
I imagine
it just is what it is. But with the firepower they have, I could see your perspective on that pick. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, that is good. Okay. Well, John Cooper, I appreciate you being back on with me tonight on the Summit, and I've enjoyed the time. Look forward to having you back soon. Obviously, when the first round is done and those games have been taken care of, we want to talk some more. I enjoy the show, and let's give a shout-out then to NAIFBALL. Let you talk about that really quickly as we wrap up. I was driving back from Kansas, got to call Division II soccer championships on Saturday and on Sunday, and the second one in Hays, Kansas. So I'm cruising down I-35 with my daughter and all the equipment in the back. And we're looking for the show, so we know it's on Twitter. I thought you guys, when I got my phone out, my daughter's like, Dad, they're upside down. So I didn't know if y'all were doing a tribute or something to, Stranger Things, or if there was something like that going on. I'm teasing. But I didn't watch you while I was driving, but I did find it, turned it on, listen. Great show last night. Lots of good content. Lots of folks from around the country coming on. Talk about what you're doing with NAIFBALL right now.
I would love for people, Joey, to, you see us on Twitter all the time. I would love for them to follow us on Instagram. We've done a lot of cool things over there, letting teams take over the Instagram, showing you just the behind the scenes of what goes on in their game day. We got to travel to a game this year, and we'll be going to the national championship come December 19th. I wish more, and it's the same username on Twitter as it is on Instagram. Just to be able to see that, I think it's great content that's just getting undervalued right now. So if you guys who are listening would love to go follow us on Instagram at NAIFBALL, that would make our day. We do edits. We do Player of the Week. So if you win a Player of the Week for NAIFBALL, you get a sweet edit. Our last Player of the Week was Jacoby Reddick, who last week had almost like 300 all-purpose yards. And from Bethel, Tennessee. So I'm really hoping that we can build a well-rounded platform for the viewers, Joey. And we're just absolutely excited. It's for the student athletes, and that's who we are here to serve.
All right. That is John Cooper with partner Corey, helping him out there as well. And say hi to Corey for me tonight. I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Or tomorrow whenever you get to see him next. I know you guys have a great thing going on there in Tallahassee. And I look forward to the time when I get to shake hands with you personally. I've enjoyed getting to meet you over the course of this year and this season. So success to you all with NAIFBALL.
Thank you, Joey. We appreciate coming on the show each time you invite us, and we have to have you back for ours coming soon.
All right. It's been fun. Let's wrap things up then here from the MidwestSports.net YouTube channel. This has been the Summit, so we want to do that a few more times. This is now the home for our conversations, for our times to get together and visit with other media, with coaches, with players. You're going to find that on the Summit now, and that is what this is all about here on the MidwestSports.net YouTube channel. Please do like this. Please do share this. please do subscribe, as our subscriber count is growing, but we have some goals here, and we want to meet those goals. We do want to be up to 1,000 subscribers sometime soon, so please help us get there, and I would appreciate that much. In the meantime, for John Cooper, I am Joey McWilliams. Thank you very much for watching, and God bless you, and have a great night.